Hello, beautiful Taurus. Get ready, because over the next 48 hours, something important may begin revealing itself in a way that feels impossible to ignore. Friday, June 26th, is more than just another date on the calendar. It opens a meaningful window, a moment when several threads that have been quietly weaving together throughout the month begin forming a clearer picture, even though most people may not immediately recognize what they're seeing. Many will move through Friday with the feeling that something in their life is ready for the next stage. They may find themselves thinking about the same person, the same opportunity, or the same unresolved decision over and over again, without fully understanding why. There can be a quiet sense of anticipation in the air, as their life is gently drawing attention towards something that deserves a closer look. You, however, are about to understand why that feeling has been growing stronger. If you noticed your thoughts returning repeatedly to a relationship, a financial decision, a career path, or a future you've been carefully building toward, pay attention. These thoughts are not appearing by accident. What you're experiencing is the result of weeks of gradual inner movement, and the closer you get to the end of June, the harder it becomes to ignore what is trying to come into focus. Before we go further, it's important to understand why these 2 days carry such significance. Overlooking this energy could mean missing an opportunity to recognize something with genuine long-term potential. This is not simply about chasing a passing moment or reacting to temporary excitement. It is about recognizing whether something you've been nurturing quietly is finally ready to emerge into a more visible stage of growth. The distance between where you are now and where you're capable of going may be much smaller than it appears. Here's what has been happening beneath the surface. Throughout June, subtle but meaningful developments have been unfolding, even when there were few outward signs to confirm them. Venus, the planet connected to love, values, finances, and self-worth, has been helping illuminate what truly matters to you. Rather than pushing you toward immediate action, this process has encouraged you to become more selective about where your energy belongs. As the month unfolded, moments of inspiration began appearing. You may have felt flashes of possibility, brief but powerful reminders of what you genuinely want for your future. Whether those visions involved a relationship, a financial goal, or a personal dream, they created space for new possibilities to enter your awareness. For a while, the horizon seemed wider than it had before. At the same time, life continued asking practical questions. Responsibilities, obligations, and real-world considerations demanded attention. If you encountered delays, challenges, or situations that required patience, those experiences were not working against you. They were helping you distinguish between what merely sounds appealing and what has the strength to last. As those lessons accumulated, something deeper began changing. Priorities that once felt fixed may have shifted. Certain desires became stronger and more meaningful, while other interests slowly faded into the background. Without fully realizing it, you may have become much clearer about what deserves your emotional investment, your time, your resources, and your future attention. Because of that process, your understanding of value has evolved. What once seemed important may no longer carry the same weight. What once felt uncertain may now feel increasingly significant. Venus has spent much of this month helping refine your understanding of what is truly worth holding on to, and as Friday approaches, that message becomes increasingly difficult to overlook. Meanwhile, another layer of growth has been developing alongside this journey. Jupiter, the planet associated with expansion, opportunity, abundance, and belief, has been steadily building momentum. The growth it represents has not always been visible on the surface, but it has been working quietly through your perspective, helping you develop a stronger understanding of what stability, security, and long-term success actually mean. For many people, this process has felt slower than expected, yet meaningful growth often works that way. Like roots spreading beneath fertile soil long before the first signs of growth appear above ground. Important progress has been taking place where it could not easily be seen. You are being encouraged to strengthen the foundation before focusing on the results. Now, as June approaches its final days, the momentum that has been building throughout the month becomes easier to recognize. The insights you gathered, the lessons you learned, and the clarity you've developed are beginning to seek expression in tangible ways. What has been internal is gradually becoming external. What has existed as potential is beginning to reveal where it can take shape in the real world. This is why the timing matters. The awareness you've been cultivating is approaching a meaningful point of alignment with the values, priorities, and goals that have become clearer throughout June. As Friday, June 26, arrives, these themes begin converging in a way that highlights growth, commitment, stability, and long-term opportunity. The picture may not be fully complete yet, but enough of it is visible to recognize where your attention belongs. And Taurus, if these messages have been helping you find clarity during times of uncertainty, there is a simple way to support the channel. You can use the support link in the description or the QR code on your screen. Every contribution, no matter the size, helps keep these messages flowing and allows this space to continue reaching the people who need it most. To everyone who has already offered support, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your kindness helps keep this community growing. Unlike periods fueled by chaos, urgency, or impulsive decisions, this moment asks something very different of you. Are you willing to trust the work you've already done? Are you willing to recognize the difference between temporary excitement and something capable of creating lasting value? Those questions sit at the center of this experience. Part of you may want to stay exactly where things feel familiar, comfortable, and predictable. Another part of you can sense that growth requires movement, even when the outcome cannot be guaranteed. This is not a struggle between freedom and security. It is a conversation between comfort and potential, between preserving what already exists and allowing something meaningful to grow beyond its current boundaries. As Friday unfolds and Saturday, June 27th follows, that contrast may become even clearer. One side of you seeks the reassurance of what is already established. The other recognizes that something important is asking for room to develop. And somewhere between those two impulses, a new chapter may begin quietly taking shape. Another part of you may feel far more comfortable holding on to what already feels safe and dependable. After all, you've spent time, effort, and emotional energy creating the stability that exists in your life today. The challenge is that both desires may feel equally valid, leaving you suspended between familiar ground and the possibility of something more. It can feel like standing at a quiet crossroads where neither path is wrong, yet both seem to be asking for your attention at the same time. Many people will struggle in moments like this because uncertainty can make even the clearest opportunities feel complicated. Some will hesitate, questioning every instinct and waiting for absolute certainty before taking a step. Others will become frustrated by the waiting and try to force an answer before they're truly ready. Neither approach leads to the deeper growth this moment is trying to offer. Some people may react too quickly, allowing temporary emotions to decide what deserves their commitment. They may rush toward what feels exciting without taking the time to understand whether it aligns with their long-term goals. Later, they may realize that enthusiasm alone cannot sustain something meaningful. Yet there is another path available, one that allows growth and stability to support each other rather than compete. Understanding the energy surrounding these days can help you move through them with greater confidence. What appears to be a choice between two opposing directions may actually be an invitation to bring them together. The people who benefit most from this period are often the ones who recognize that meaningful progress rarely comes from extremes. It comes from knowing what deserves your energy and why. Let's talk about what this may mean for your heart, your relationships, and the connections that matter most. If you're single, Friday could bring someone into clearer focus in a way that feels both natural and intriguing. Rather than arriving as an overwhelming whirlwind, this connection may feel like something gradually becoming more noticeable, as though a quiet signal has been growing stronger over time. You may begin recognizing qualities in someone that align with what you've truly been looking for beneath the surface. What makes this different is that the attraction may feel rooted in substance rather than pure excitement. There can be a sense of familiarity, comfort, or genuine curiosity that encourages you to pay closer attention. Instead of feeling like a sudden interruption, the connection may feel like something naturally finding its place within your awareness. That subtle difference matters more than you might expect. The challenge arrives when possibility begins transforming into certainty before enough information is available. Optimism can become powerful during periods like this, making it tempting to focus only on what could be. You may find yourself filling in gaps with assumptions or overlooking questions that deserve thoughtful answers. That is exactly why awareness remains so important. The opportunity in love is not about getting swept away by fantasy. It is about allowing interest to develop while remaining connected to your values, your needs, and your sense of self. Real attraction becomes more meaningful when it is supported by honesty rather than projection. The strongest connections are often the ones that can handle truth from the beginning. Having those honest conversations may require more courage than people realize. It means clearly expressing what matters to you rather than hoping someone else will automatically understand. It means acknowledging your standards, your boundaries, and your hopes without apology. When transparency is present early, relationships often develop stronger roots and greater trust. If you're already in a relationship, these days may gently bring important topics back to the surface. Feelings, needs, or conversations that have been postponed in the interest of maintaining harmony may no longer feel easy to ignore. You may find yourself wanting deeper understanding, greater emotional honesty, or more room for genuine self-expression. The key is not what you say, but how you choose to say it. The relationship choices that create lasting value are usually built on authenticity rather than performance. Emotional security grows strongest when both people feel accepted for who they truly are. Many partnerships become healthier when difficult truths are shared with care instead of hidden behind silence. Trust deepens when honesty is welcomed rather than feared. The larger lesson unfolding here is that stability and growth are not enemies. You do not have to choose between commitment and excitement, as though one automatically cancels out the other. These energies are showing you that something meaningful can expand while still remaining grounded. The real question is whether you can recognize what is worthy of your continued investment. Now let's shift our attention toward finances, resources, and the future you're building. Venus continues to highlight your relationship with value, money, self-worth, and the choices that shape your material world. Jupiter, meanwhile, amplifies themes of opportunity, expansion, prosperity, and long-term development. As these influences become easier to recognize, financial decisions may carry more weight and significance than usual. The shadow side appears when enthusiasm starts moving faster than wisdom. Some people may feel tempted to spend impulsively, stretch beyond realistic limits, or commit resources before gathering enough information. There can be a tendency to assume every opportunity is guaranteed to succeed simply because it feels promising. That mindset can become expensive if optimism replaces careful evaluation. At the same time, this energy is not encouraging fear or excessive caution. Jupiter's influence here is not about reckless expansion. Instead, it highlights the rewards that come from building something dependable, practical, and capable of supporting future growth. The emphasis remains on sustainability rather than instant gratification. The opportunities with the greatest long-term potential are often connected to foundations. This may involve advocating for compensation that reflects your value, investing in something tangible that supports future security, or finally moving forward with a project you spent months developing. What separates these decisions from impulsive choices is preparation. They are rooted in thoughtful planning rather than emotional urgency. The universe appears to be responding most strongly to deliberate commitment. It favors those who are willing to take practical action in support of goals that genuinely matter to them. Growth becomes far more powerful when it is connected to structure, patience, and consistency. Confidence backed by a solid foundation tends to create results that endure. There is another layer to these days that deserves attention as well. The themes already unfolding are not operating in isolation. As Friday progresses, the atmosphere may create space for insights, conversations, or realizations that help connect pieces of a larger picture. Sometimes clarity arrives quietly, not as a dramatic revelation, but as a simple understanding that suddenly feels undeniable. A useful opportunity could emerge through a discussion, a fresh perspective, or a development that seems remarkably well-timed. Something that previously felt uncertain may begin revealing a more practical and realistic path forward. Rather than feeling dramatic or disruptive, the shift may feel grounded and surprisingly natural. It acts as a reminder that steady progress often creates opportunities of its own. Then, as Saturday unfolds, the energy softens and becomes more reflective. What once felt complicated or difficult to interpret may begin settling into a clearer shape. There can be a sense that separate pieces are finally connecting, allowing you to understand the larger picture with greater confidence. This period encourages patience, trust, and a willingness to stop forcing answers before they are ready to arrive. By the time these 2 days have fully unfolded, you may realize that the greatest gift was not a sudden breakthrough at all. It was the clarity to recognize what already carried genuine potential, the wisdom to nurture it carefully, and the willingness to let meaningful growth develop at its own pace. These days are not simply about one isolated moment or a single decision. They unfold more like a sequence, with each stage revealing something the previous one prepared you to see. Friday may bring an opportunity, a realization, or a conversation into sharper focus, while later insights help you understand why it matters. By the time Saturday arrives, the larger meaning behind what you've been experiencing may feel easier to recognize, creating a natural progression from awareness into deeper understanding. Remember that persistent feeling I've mentioned before, the one that keeps drawing your attention back to the same person, idea, goal, or possibility. There is a reason it has remained so present. Throughout recent weeks, subtle shifts have been taking place beneath the surface, gradually creating momentum that is only now becoming easier to notice. Long before external results appear, inner awareness often begins signaling that something important is developing. You may have found yourself revisiting old plans, reconsidering opportunities, or feeling unexpectedly motivated to make changes that once seemed easy to postpone. Perhaps there's been a quiet sense that something is unfinished, something waiting for the right moment to move forward. Even if you couldn't fully explain it, the feeling likely continued returning. That persistence is often a sign that your attention is being directed towards something meaningful. For some, this may have shown up as restlessness. For others, it may have appeared as curiosity, anticipation, or a growing awareness that a particular area of life deserves more focus. These experiences are not necessarily signs of pressure. More often, they reflect the natural process of recognizing that a new stage of growth is approaching and that your priorities are beginning to shift accordingly. As Friday and Saturday unfold, those sensations may become even more noticeable. You could feel more emotionally engaged than usual, more aware of opportunities around you, or more sensitive to what feels aligned and what does not. Some people describe this as excitement, while others experience it as a quiet certainty they cannot ignore. However it appears, the feeling may continue asking for your attention until you acknowledge it. Instead of dismissing these signals, allow yourself to become curious about them. Life often speaks softly before it speaks loudly. The feelings arising now may be reminding you that you are closer to an important point of development than you realize. They are not demanding immediate action as much as they are inviting conscious participation. Of course, people respond to moments like this in very different ways. Understanding the common pitfalls can make it easier to navigate the energy wisely. One group tends to move too quickly, mistaking momentum for certainty and excitement for clarity. They become so eager to reach the next chapter that they skip the reflection necessary to understand whether a decision truly supports their future. These are the individuals who rush ahead without fully considering consequences, who abandon stability before creating a new foundation, or who commit valuable resources before gathering enough information. They assume that every opportunity deserves immediate action simply because it feels promising. In doing so, they overlook the value of patience, preparation, and thoughtful evaluation. Another group struggles for the opposite reason. They sense that growth is calling them forward, yet fear convinces them to remain exactly where they are. Even when they recognize that a change may be beneficial, they continue waiting for a level of certainty that rarely exists in real life. Comfort becomes a reason to stay still, even when their deeper instincts are encouraging movement. Months later, these individuals may look back and wonder what could have happened if they had trusted themselves more fully. They may realize the opportunity was genuine, yet hesitation became the deciding factor. Growth almost always involves some level of uncertainty because the future cannot be fully known in advance. Waiting for guarantees often means missing the very experiences that create confidence. The people who gain the most from this period understand a different approach. They acknowledge the desire for growth, but they connect it to their values. Instead of chasing excitement alone, they are not interested in movement for the sake of movement. They want progress that supports the life they are genuinely trying to build. These are the individuals willing to have honest conversations because they care about strengthening relationships, not creating conflict. They understand that vulnerability can deepen trust when it is expressed with sincerity and respect. Rather than avoiding difficult topics, they approach them thoughtfully, believing that authenticity creates stronger connections over time. They bring the same mindset into financial decisions. When opportunities appear, they evaluate them through the lens of long-term value rather than temporary satisfaction. They focus on strengthening foundations, increasing stability, and making choices that support future growth. Their goal is not quick validation but sustainable progress. Most importantly, they learn to trust both intuition and practical wisdom. They listen to what they feel while also considering facts, timing, and long-term consequences. This balance allows them to move forward confidently without becoming reckless. Instead of choosing between growth and stability, they learn how to let both work together. These are the people who may eventually look back on June 26th and 27th, 2026 as a meaningful turning point. Not because their entire life changed overnight, but because they recognized an opportunity that reflected who they were becoming. It becomes the moment they stopped investing all of their energy into what was merely familiar and began giving more attention to what carried genuine potential for the future. There is another reason these days deserve attention as well. The combination of developments, insights, and timing surrounding this period creates a very specific atmosphere. Similar opportunities may arise again, but they are unlikely to arrive in exactly the same form or under the same conditions. The context matters just as much as the opportunity itself. That is why this period carries a certain weight. It is not about believing in coincidence or forcing meaning where none exists. It is about recognizing when several important threads begin coming together at the same time. Moments like these create openings, and every meaningful opening remains available for only so long before the next stage of the journey begins to emerge. As these energies continue unfolding, the atmosphere surrounding this moment will gradually begin to change. The clarity, focus, and momentum available during June 26th and 27th are part of a specific window, and windows like this are not meant to remain open indefinitely. What feels especially meaningful right now may naturally evolve over the coming weeks as new priorities emerge and fresh opportunities begin taking shape. That does not diminish the value of this moment. It simply highlights the reality that certain periods carry a unique capacity for growth and recognition. This is not about creating pressure or convincing you that everything depends on a single decision. It is about recognizing that some moments provide stronger support than others for understanding what truly matters. There are times when life seems unusually responsive, when patterns become easier to recognize and important truths rise closer to the surface. The final days of June carry that quality, offering a chance to see things with greater clarity than you may have been able to before. So what can you do with that awareness? With less than 48 hours before this period reaches its peak, preparation becomes valuable. The first step is simple, although not always easy. Be completely honest with yourself about what you genuinely want, not what seems practical to everyone else, not what would earn approval from family, friends, or society. What does the deepest and most authentic part of you continue reaching toward, even when you try to set it aside? Sometimes the answers we need have been quietly waiting within us for much longer than we realize. Take a moment to write those thoughts down. Speak them aloud if you need to hear them with your own ears. Allow yourself to acknowledge that desire without immediately judging it, minimizing it, or explaining why it might be impossible. Clarity often begins the moment we stop arguing against what our heart has been trying to tell us all along. Once you've identified that desire, the next step is to examine what moving toward it would actually require. What conversation have you been delaying? What commitment have you been avoiding? What action feels important enough to deserve your attention, even if taking it would require courage or vulnerability? Many people spend years waiting for certainty before taking a step forward, yet growth rarely works that way. More often, clarity emerges because action creates it. The things we avoid often contain the very lessons, opportunities, or answers we have been searching for. Then look carefully at the foundation beneath your desire. Is this choice helping you build something that can support you in the future? Is it connected to your values, your long-term goals, and the life you genuinely want to create? Or is it simply an attempt to escape discomfort, frustration, or dissatisfaction in the present moment? That distinction matters more than it may initially appear. Decisions rooted in genuine growth tend to create stability over time, even when they feel challenging at first. Decisions rooted in avoidance often provide temporary relief while creating larger obstacles later. Understanding the difference can change everything. The energy surrounding these days strongly favors choices connected to long-term value. It supports growth that can be nurtured, developed, and sustained over time. This is not about chasing whatever appears exciting in the moment. It is about recognizing opportunities that have the potential to strengthen your future in meaningful ways. And when Friday or Saturday brings that unmistakable feeling that something is ready to move forward, pay attention. Trust the preparation you've already done. Trust the lessons you've learned throughout recent weeks. Have the conversation, make the commitment, or take the next step that you know deserves your attention. At the same time, remember that this story extends far beyond a single weekend. June 26th and 27th are not the destination. They are the beginning of a larger process that has already been unfolding beneath the surface and will continue developing in the weeks ahead. What you choose now may influence much more than you currently realize. As time passes, many of the insights, decisions, and commitments made during this period may begin producing visible results. What seems uncertain today may gradually become easier to understand. Situations that once felt confusing may reveal their purpose. Possibilities that existed only in your imagination may begin finding practical expression in the real world. When action aligns with intention, something remarkable often happens. Mental fog begins to lift. The path forward becomes easier to recognize because you are no longer standing still. What once appeared distant starts feeling attainable, and what once felt like a possibility begins taking shape as reality. Over time, the opportunities you choose to nurture now may grow into something far more substantial than they initially appear. What begins as a decision can become a foundation. What begins as a hope can become a plan. What begins as a small step can eventually create lasting change. Yet none of that happens automatically. It depends on what you choose to do with this moment. It depends on your willingness to trust yourself, to honor what matters most, and to move toward growth even before every answer is visible. Meaningful progress often begins long before certainty arrives. That is why June 26th and 27th, 2026 carry such significance. They offer more than a simple opportunity or a temporary burst of motivation. They create space for you to recognize what deserves your commitment, your attention, and your continued investment moving forward. The invitation is already there. The only question is whether you are ready to respond to it. If you're still here with me, thank you for spending part of your day sharing this message. If this video resonated with you and you'd like to continue exploring messages like this in the future, be sure to subscribe and stay connected. And if something in this message reflected your current experience, I'd love to hear your thoughts or insights in the comments below.